Hello and welcome back to day 6 of the Summer Series 22 with Inspiring Workplaces in partnership with H&H. My name is Christine and I'm from H&H, and it's a huge privilege to be involved in this. It's 3 weeks of daily learning, sharing, insights and ideas from our community all around the world. We're here at the same time every day, and if you miss any of our speakers, remember the talks are available on demand on the Inspiring Workplaces website. Today's will be too, so if you enjoy it, please let your friends and colleagues know, and it'll be there after a couple of hours or so. Now, as you'll know, if you've joined us previously, during the talk, everybody who's watching live is muted, but we would still really love it if you joined the conversation in the comments section. So please add your thoughts, ideas, and any questions for our speakers if you're joining us live. So we're already halfway through this year's summer series already. Can you believe it? We've had some amazing talks so far. Charlie Judy the other day talked about the power of the nudge in transforming behavior. And Holly Tate showed how a healthy feedback culture can really help people to engage and to grow. We had Bob Selle of Ocean State Job Lot, who made a winning case for making well-being a business strategy. And yesterday, Carl Burnett shared some really clever ways to connect and to engage people. So if you missed any, I seriously recommend that you watch them on Catch Up. There are some really valuable insights. Which brings me to today's speaker. I'm very excited to introduce Richard Roberts, who recently spoke at the Inspire Work Summit in London. Now, Rich opened the day with amazing energy, and we really couldn't wait for him to come back and join us here for the summer series. Now, Rich is an incredible people director. He most recently worked at the multi-award-winning Pure Planet, a digital supplier of renewable energy to domestic customers over in the UK. In just 5 years, the company grew from 3 to 200 employees. And at the center of that was a goal that I think many of us will really relate to shape a culture to attract, engage, and retain talent that aligned with the sustainable purpose and values of the business. Now, in Rich's 6 years as people director, he created a highly engaged and productive team, and it was recognized by many awards. The company was ranked number 2 in the Sunday Times Top 100 Small Companies to Work For in 2020, and was ranked number 3 in the top 100 medium-sized companies to work for in 2021. So it was no surprise that also in 2021, Pure Planet won the Inspiring Workplaces Gold Award, a huge achievement and very, very well deserved. Now, Rich now works independently, so he's sharing his skills and his experience with other businesses who have a focus on great cultures in the workplace. And today we're really lucky because he's going to share some of that wisdom with us. So, Rich, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Nice to see you all.
It's great to have you here, Rich. Now, it's fantastic to be introducing you today because I know lots of us have really been looking forward to your talk. Are you going to let us into a few of the secrets behind your success in building award-winning cultures?
I will indeed. I'll try to anyway. Yes. In half an hour, I'll see what I can impart.
I can't wait. I've been looking forward to this all week. So over to you then, Rich.
Thank you very much. Hello, everybody. I'm absolutely delighted to be hosting this session. I'm actually in my garden shed in Bristol in the UK. So if you were expecting something similar to a TED Talk, you're actually going to get a shed talk. There's very much 2 parts to my story today. First of all, I'd just like to share with you what I consider to be the key ingredients to kind of creating this positive and engaged culture, mainly based on my experience and also mainly based on where I've got it wrong in the past. And then secondly, I want to tell you a little bit more about how we applied those theories and those principles, if you like, to Pure Planet. And we were delighted when we won the Inspiring Workplaces Award last year in 2021. So I'm on a bit of a mission. And my mission is to make workplaces enjoyable places to be. And why is this important, I hear you cry? Well, I believe if people enjoy being at work, then they're going to be more productive, more engaged, more motivated. And this very much is, for me, the key to having high-performing teams. This is also really good for people's well-being, and as research shows, it also has a really positive effect upon the bottom line. Of course, the opposite is true. And I've seen that time and time again, that if you're having disengaged people, then that will have such a negative impact on the working environment. And I'm often asked, well, okay, Rich, that's great. That's your mission. But what's the magic formula? What's this fairy dust that we need to sprinkle on our teams to make them highly engaged and highly motivated? So it's been a bit of a quest for me, really, to find out this magic formula, the holy grail of employee engagement, as I call it. And I've actually traveled the world in search of this formula. I once went to Swindon. I've even been to London once. And I've got some bad news, I'm afraid, folks. There is no magic formula, because it does take a lot of hard work, a lot of thinking, and it takes time. But on my search, I have come across some really highly engaged teams. And this is the Pure Planet team. And this has fascinated me, these teams. And I've done a lot of research. And I've spoken to a lot of people. And I've really concluded that there are 3 key ingredients that you need to have this positive culture. And that every organization, if they focus on these 3 key things, I think they will be on the path to success. The first one, as you can see, is having this camaraderie, this being a part of a team. I feel that, if you have a community, there's a real emotional connection to other people. This is what people want. This is, Simon Sinek, who I'm sure you're aware, talks about social cohesion, people being a part of something, being a part of a group. And it is very much, as I said, an emotional connection. And us human beings, we want that connection. We want that fundamental connection with people, because we are social beings. So for me, the first part of creating this culture is all about a sense of belonging. Now, I spent many years working at Virgin, and this is where I really learned about the importance of creating teams and this emotional connection. And I thought I'd just share this slide because it's a great example of things that Virgin did. Many, many things they did, but this was one, a very symbolic and a very obvious one. So this was the logo for Virgin Mobile in their staff canteen. And what you can see there is in the mobile bit, we took everybody's passport photographs. So that actually is people's photographs in the mobile. And then in the red bit on the Virgin, we got people to line up one lunchtime, put their hands in some red paint, and they actually put their paw prints into the logo. And the reason it was so special for us is that every time you went into the restaurant, which everybody did every day, you could see symbolically that you were a part of the team. You were part of Virgin and you were part of Mobile, because there up on the wall was the logo. And that's kind of the emotional connection around the sense of belonging. The second thing that I think is a key ingredient, which is a part of the belonging, it's part of being something, but it's a part of being something bigger. And that's all about purpose, the need to find a purpose. And I think over the last 3 or 4 years, over the pandemic, then this has become much more meaningful for people. People want to have purpose in their roles. They want to have purpose in the organizations that they work for. I read a stat that said 65% of candidates now want to work for an organization that has a positive impact in the world. And I think this is a really important engagement driver. And Simon Sinek, which I'm sure you all know, he's done a load of research in this area, and he has clearly established it is about the why. And I saw this this quote in an office in Bath up on a wall, and I thought I'd take a picture of that because that will feature in one of my presentations. The important thing is around, of course, is why should people go the extra mile working for your companies? And it is about the why. It is about the purpose. And this, for me, again, is a really important engagement driver. And then in at number 3, it's trust. Now, I've been thinking about why I've enjoyed working at Pure Planet so much. Indeed, it was the best job I think I've ever had. And on reflection, it is all about I could actually be myself. I felt safe. I felt trusted. I felt that I could say my opinion. I could make my views known without any fears of repercussions or being ridiculed for what I said. And also the business case stacks up for this too. And I haven't got time to go into the detail, but if you look at some research that's recently come out by a guy called Paul Zak, that's ZAK, he's clearly proved that if you have a trusting environment, employment engagement scores are higher, and also it has a big impact on the bottom line. And I'm often asked about, well, how do you know, Rich, that we work in this trusting environment? Well, ask yourself the question, what happens when you speak up in your organization? Maybe it's, going against the grain, maybe it's a different opinion from everybody else. What actually happens? And I know in my past, I've worked for companies where you just didn't do that because you feared what would happen. But this is an important element of people having a voice and feeling safe. And if you're interested in this area, I mean, the trendy word for it now is psychological safety. Just have a look at some of the research that's out and about there at the moment. And it is quite significant in terms of the impact it has on culture. So 3 key ingredients before I talk to you a little bit more about how we applied all that to Pure Planet. Sense of belonging, feeling trusted, and a sense of purpose and meaning. And for me, if you work hard on all 3 of those, then you're well down the way of creating a really special culture. But there's also another thing for me as well. I genuinely think that people come to work to do a good job. They are motivated, they are engaged, they want to do well. But actually, it's the company, it's the things the company does that gets in the way. And what I'm talking about here is the rules, the things you can't do, the politics, the hierarchy, the processes. And often when I go into organizations, I look at all the things that they're doing, and my recommendations are all about what they should stop doing, not necessarily what they should start doing. Now, I've worked in HR for over 30 years, believe it or not. And actually, I think HR professionals are probably the worst at this, the rules. Take a look at your employment handbook, for example. Is it a rule book? Does it use words like must, cannot, don't? Or is it actually an inspiring document? And a lot of these things are virtual now, of course, as well. Is it an inspiring document that talks about the company, the purpose, the values, the way of doing things in a very positive sense? Just have a look, because if you read that document, what message is it sending to everybody about your culture? Okay, let's move on to Pure Planet and part 2. Now, sadly, the reason I no longer work for Pure Planet is that we were an energy company. And for those of you in the UK, you will know that over 30 energy companies have recently gone bust due to the government's policy on energy pricing and actually the price of gas in the current market. So unfortunately, Pure Planet last year went into administration. The reason I say that is I'd like you to meet Jenny. Now, we recruited Jenny during lockdown. Jenny lives in Scotland, and I've done a little map for those of you who are not in the UK. So Jenny lives up in Scotland, and the Pure Planet office is actually in Bath. We never met Jenny face to face. It was all virtual. We recruited her virtually. She joined virtually, and she worked for us on a virtual basis. She never ever came into the office. But I have to say, Jenny was the most engaged, productive, motivated. She got involved all the time. And we never met her. We never saw her face to face. And I was quite fascinated by that. And when we went into administration, it was a really sad time for everybody. And there were lots of messages on our internal messaging system, which was Slack, about how people felt about it and how emotional people were about the fact that Pure Planet was coming to the end. And this is what Jenny wrote. Now, I don't often put long-winded quotes into my presentations, but this, I think, is worthy of the audience, so to speak. This is what Jenny wrote, and this went to everybody in the organization. I'm certainly one of the furthest away, but in many ways I couldn't feel closer. I may not have got to know many of you very well, but I've observed so much of you in my time here. I've seen the little friendly interactions between people, the genuine affection, the silly nicknames and the in-jokes. I never really felt like I belonged anywhere. I belonged here. In being my own person, I belonged. I found stability here, comfort, familiar faces that I look forward to seeing at team meetings. And most significantly, my last job drove me to antidepressants. And this job has helped me come off them and to find a quiet self-worth that I've struggled to find before. Now, when I read this with the tears flowing down my face, again, I was really struck by what has happened for Jenny to write that. We've never met her face to face. And bear in mind, our culture was very much about the office and people meeting in one big open plan area. Then we had lockdown, of course. So I spent some time with Jenny and I asked her, what was it about our culture? What was it about joining? What was it about the day-to-day stuff? What was it about the silly little interactions between people that you so liked? And Jenny gave me a whole list of things that she said were the key significant things that made her felt that way. And I thought, this will probably make a great presentation. So here's 10 ways that led to Jenny feeling so engaged at Pure Planet. Now, as we go through these, I'm not suggesting that you copy these, but just think around the principles of belonging, purpose, trust, and how we at Pure Planet applied it. Now, I know every situation is different and every cultures are different, but for me, it's all about giving the message and giving evidence and doing things in a very practical way that demonstrates and builds your culture. So here's the top 10. Firstly, we had a very clear purpose, and that was all around renewable energy. So sustainability really did lie at the core of everything we did at Pure Planet. Yes, a lot of people joined us as a result of that. And yes, a lot of people believe passionately in it. And I often thought we were actually a campaigning charity rather than a commercial business. But for me, I know a lot of companies have purposes, but a lot of those are just words. It is really all about what you do internally. And yes, we had a very external focus for it because basically we sold renewable energy to domestic customers. But also we did an incredible lot internally to kind of spread the message. So just one example was we planted 100 trees in a local field. And here are the guys from Pure Planet visiting our trees. And in ways, this is one of our legacy. As you can see there, it's Winsley Forest for those of you who are near Bath. And indeed, we can go and visit the forest, even though Pure Planet no longer exists. So for me, it's about the practical ways. You know, another thing we did was we offset everybody's commute into work. And also, of course, there's a lot you can do internally around paper, a lot you can do around recycling, just little small things that all builds up to having this message of we are sustainable. So number one is around purpose. Number two, and I love this quote, is around leadership. And then, as you all know, and Inspiring Workplaces does talk a lot about this because it's so important. It does really come from the top, and it's all about role model behavior. And yeah, this kind of lies at the heart of Pure Planet, because we had a senior management team and we had 3 founders who, I have to say, were probably the best leadership team that I've been fortunate to work with. Their style was very open, their style was very visible. We were all, when we were in the office, in an open plan area. If you walked in, you could not have said who were the leaders and who were not, because everybody was kind of all in it together, so to speak. And the philosophy was very much about this. And again, for those of you in the UK, you'll recognise that this is in the changing rooms of the greatest sporting team in the land, which is the Bristol Bears rugby union team. And I was fortunate enough to have a tour and saw this, and I thought, this is perfect. This is perfect. This is what Pure Planet is all about. It's about the equality. It's about all being in it together. And nobody is more important than anybody else. And that is the philosophy, I think, that makes a really good leadership team. And here's a great example. On the right is Andrew, our chief exec. When we moved into our new office, he was the first one to be getting out his toolkit and actually building the desks that we bought from IKEA. All in it together is the key message there. So it's quiz time for number 3. This works much better when it's live, with a live audience. But have a think about what you think the answer is to this question. In a recent survey, what percentage of people said they would prefer a new manager to a pay rise? Just have a think. Now, when I first saw this question, and it's based on a survey that was done last year, I thought it would be about 40%. Because I was thinking, well, actually, new manager, but people want pay rises. But actually, it was 72%. 72% of people would prefer a new manager to a pay rise. And for me, this just clearly demonstrates the importance of the relationship between the individual and your manager. And of course, managers can have so much impact on your day-to-day. They can have so much impact on the way you work, the way you progress, and the way that you're managed. And I know there is a quote, I think it's Marcus Buckingham, who said, people join an organization but leave a manager. And for me, our style of management at Pure Planet, and we banged on about this, and we banged on about this, and we trained and supported people in this, is to be a coach. We didn't call them managers, we called them coaches, for obvious reasons, because their role was to support, guide, help, and coach their team, not to micromanage. And the other thing I think is, from my experience, that many people think it's easy to manage people, but actually they're not very good at it, especially if you come from a kind of more of an IT background, where dealing with people is probably not in your comfort zone. So I think it's really important that you define what you want from your managers and coaches, and then you give them all the support, all the help, and all the coaching you can to make them just brilliant people managers. And I often say, if you're going to invest in anything in culture, if it's one thing, then invest in having great, engaged people managers. I think that also goes hand in hand with well-being. And of course, that has become much more significant in the last few years. And it has considerably gone up the agenda. Of course, it should have been at the top of the agenda from the very beginning. But because managers have such a massive impact on your day-to-day world, they have a massive impact on your well-being. So again, one of the byproducts of getting great people manager is on making sure that people are being looked after on a well-being front. And yes, I know you can have apps, and yes, we trained up people to be mental health first aiders. That is all important. But for me, the key route on well-being is actually the people management stuff. And remember what Jenny said, that her last job drove her to antidepressants, and this job helped to get off them. So I'm not very good at maths. I think I'm on number 5 or number 6. And this relates to flexibility. And this, of course, is a current hot topic, is it not? Hybrid working and flexibility. And I think people, they want autonomy to take the decision about how, when, and where they work. And this is, for me, again, it was key in the Pure Planet culture. It was all about giving people a choice. People worked from home, people worked in cafes, people worked in the office, and it was just making sure that everybody felt that they were being treated equally across the piece, and actually, most significantly, didn't feel they were missing out, dependent on their choice of where they worked. And of course, this as well just opened up a whole new pool of recruitment candidates for us, as Recruiting Jenny up in Scotland tells us all. So flexibility and giving people the autonomy was another key part. We're on number 7, only 3 to go. Yippee, I hear you cry. And this is all around the team. And for me, this is all about keeping people connected. Now you can see some lovely shots of the office there, and people, mingling and talking. And of course, that's quite easy to keep people connected when you're office. But then you get into hybrid world, and of course, you have to think very carefully around all of that. And we did do a lot of things, to bring people together, socials, pub quizzes. We even had a musical recital one evening, which was lovely, all virtual, and a magic show. Can you imagine doing a card trick virtually? Didn't quite work as well as live, but heck, we need to try these things and pilot them out. My advice on this is try and spot opportunities to bring people together. So my example on this is, every year in Bath, the local council organised a tidy up Bath day where you'd go out and pick up litter, basically. So we got everybody involved, as you can see there, and actually it was one of the best team builds I think we've done. Because it just brought people together. People were doing some good in the local community. It wasn't work related, of course. So people could mingle, they could social, and we all went for a beer afterwards. So that worked really well. And of course, then you get into the virtual stuff. And I don't know about you, but I don't like working in my garden shed. It's very convenient for the commute home, which takes about 10 seconds, rather than the hour that I had from Bath. But I do like to meet people. I do like to socialize. And especially when you work in HR, I think that's a key element. But you need to try and replicate that, don't you? And just one example, and because I know I'm running out of time. So one thing we did was, Vanessa worked in my team. You can see Vanessa there in the middle of the screen. She actually moved to Germany, and we were very happy for her to continue to work for us. And there was an opportunity. We thought, actually, if Vanessa can never come in, she can become our head of remote. So whenever we had an idea or an initiative or anything like that, what we did was I spoke to Vanessa and said, how do you feel about this, Vanessa? You are remote. You are 100% remote. How do you feel about this? Do you feel left out? Do you feel that, you're part of this? And that worked really well because Vanessa was experiencing it, and she gave us a very good view about how she felt about the things that we were doing. 2 more to go. This is all about equality. These are all my children. I can never remember their names. I think it's Tom, Dick, and Harry, and then Tom, Dick, and Harry. And the reason for this slide is a very core principle at Pure Planet was trying to make people feel that they were being fairly treated and treated equally. And this example is that we actually had equal parental leave. So regardless of your gender, you could take exactly the same benefit on maternity, previously known as maternity, paternity, and all that. It was exactly the same across the board. We had the same benefits across the board as well. So there was just some examples of how we treated everybody, certainly tried to treat everybody equally. Communication. This is number 9. very important in terms of keeping people connected. We used our Slack channels, maybe overused our Slack channels. So just a few examples. And my advice here is use your tech. It's there to help you, not to hinder you. So for example, on Slack, if you're familiar with it, there's lots of channels where people can contribute to. This is our improvements channel. So you could go on, you can actually put in an improvement or an idea. And our CEO used to always respond within 24 hours to those improvements. And we worked out that 1 year, actually, we saved over £250,000 by implementing improvements that were suggested by members of the team. We also had our social channels, which were also very busy. This is our pets channel. As you can see, pictures of pets doing things, and a horse crept in as well. Bear in mind, we were near Bath in Wiltshire, so we had lots of fields to keep horses in. And then my personal favourite, and this kind of developed from a very small idea. So every day at 4 o'clock, I used to pose what was known as question of the day. So it might be, what's your favourite band? What's your favourite film? Where would you go if you go to any foreign country tomorrow? So every day we had a question, and this got the most interaction, and we had some fantastic feedback about this. And in the end, I posed something like 370 questions of the day. So if you're interested in following that example, I'm very happy to share those questions for a very small fee, because after you've done about 30, you do start to struggle a little bit. And my godsend on that one was Googling icebreakers, training icebreakers, because there was lots of great questions on there. So in at number 10, which is my personal favorite, is just all about doing something different. And I'm a great believer, actually, that if you do all the small things, actually they have the biggest impact. And just do something different. Do something that aligns to your brand. Do something that your team enjoy. But just surprise people. My couple of examples here are, so Anna there clutching the tree. I know most companies at Christmas maybe give you a bottle of wine if you're lucky, or they may give you a box of chocolates. We give everybody at Pure Planet a tree that they could plant in their back garden, or indeed, if they didn't have a back garden, we asked them to plant them in the local park, which didn't go down too well with the local council, but hey ho. On the environmental day, Earth Day it was, I think, which is in April, we actually send everybody a packet of seeds to help the bees, as you can see there on the right hand side. And again, what you can see there on the left hand side is we ran a lot of personal development workshops. Now, you know what they can be like. You sit in a hot, stuffy hotel room and you do lots of group exercises and you share your soul and everybody gets embarrassed. We did it in a Pure Planet way. And actually what we did was we spent the day going for a walk in the countryside. We had a naturalist who helped us, a David Attenborough type person, telling us all about the flora and fauna. And actually, we then split people into pairs who talked about very much all about your strengths, your limiting beliefs, all that sort of stuff throughout the day. And actually, our chief exec went on the whole day with everybody and actually came back to me afterwards and said, I was really dreading it. I hate all that stuff, but I absolutely loved it. So that was a real big tick in the box. So just do something different would be my advice. So that brings me back to where we all started, about enjoying life at work. And that would be the one thing that I will remember looking back on my time at Pure Planet. It was the people, it was the laughter, it was the enthusiasm, because as I said, it was the best job that I ever had. So my rallying call for you all, wherever you are in the world, very much my message is, please try and make your organizations not just great places to be, but make them enjoyable places to be. Thank you.
Thank you, Rich. That was wonderful. I feel like we've just had a masterclass in how to create a work culture where people really want to be there, really want to give their best to the company or whatever organization it was. I mean, you talked about those three key ingredients: the sense of belonging, a sense of purpose and meaning, and feeling trusted. And just to recap, you said that people want to feel as though they're part of something bigger, part of something that's making a positive impact on the world. And I think it's quite clear that Pure Planet has done that. For a company that had such a short lifespan, relatively, it's left a huge legacy, I think. I mean, not just things like the tree planting, which that's going to be there for ages. Who knows what that's set off. The wildflower planting, all the community and environmental work that you did. They're brilliant, but also people like Jenny. I mean, what a moving story. I imagine there'll probably be a few tears as people listen to Jenny's story. I wonder what the impact is on people like Jenny and her colleagues, others who may not have contacted you with the same kind of sentiments, but what ripples are they about to create in the world of work? What sort of culture are they going to help to develop wherever they go next? Fascinating, really, really inspiring. Thank you very much.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that after that post, I suggested to Jenny that she became a copywriter because she has a great way with words. And she said to me, I never ever thought of doing that as a career. And guess what she's doing now?
Fabulous. Absolutely wonderful, Rich. It's been a real pleasure listening to you. And anybody who feels that they have colleagues and friends who benefit from listening to that, please do send them to the Inspiring Workplaces website to watch our catch up. Thanks very much. Well, tomorrow we continue the culture theme with a little glimpse into the future. Now, we all talk about a good workplace culture. We've just been listening to some fabulous insights in how to really, really make it work. But when we say workplace culture, what do we actually mean? Are we overusing the phrase? And what if we were to rethink our ideas about what a good culture looked like? Well, tomorrow, Anne Roger, who's one of our associates at H&H and also the founder of East River Insight, is going to share some hot off the press findings from some recent research she's done, quite in-depth research with employees all around the world. And my goodness, some of the insights coming from that research are quite provocative, maybe a little bit disruptive. Wait and see. They just might change the way we think about good culture. But in any case, I imagine that Rich's insights and Rich's experiences and advice are going to play a big part in whatever that culture looks like. So do join us tomorrow and keep an eye on the website for what's coming up next week in the third and final week of our fabulous summer series. And thank you for being here today. Bye-bye.